Tourists came within 400 meters of an erupting Volcán de Fuego, and the only thing standing between them and Central America's deadliest volcano was a headlamp and a guide telling them to run. They filmed the whole thing. What the cameras caught is hard to look away from. A wall of orange punching into a black sky, sparks pouring down the slope like burning rain, a single file line of hikers stumbling down a mountain in the dark, the ground shuddering under their feet. And behind them, getting louder, the volcano that buried an entire town just a few years before. This is Fuego. No other Guatemalan volcano produces multiple explosions per hour around the clock. And the people you're watching escape aren't villagers caught off guard. They paid to be there. They hiked all day to sleep on the shoulder of one of the most active volcanoes on Earth. Because that's exactly what the tourism brochures promise: a front row seat to the fire. The problem is that the seat is never as safe as it looks, and the mountain, 3 kilometers away, doesn't care that you bought a ticket. Here's what you have to understand before we go any further. The tourists don't actually climb Fuego. You can't hike Fuego itself. The upper slopes are restricted to monitoring teams. What they climb is its twin. The Acatenango towers over its neighbor Fuego by a good 200 meters and is connected to it by a narrow ridge. You hike up Acatenango, you camp on its flank, and from there, you watch Fuego erupt across the gap all night long. You hike 4 to 6 hours up to a camp at roughly 3,600 meters, eat dinner, and then the show starts after dark. Fuego erupts every 15 to 20 minutes with visible lava fountains, incandescent blocks tumbling down the flanks, and rumbling detonations you can feel in your chest. That's the pitch, and for years it's worked. The overnight Acatenango hike is the #1 adventure activity in Guatemala, hundreds of people a day. But here's the detail that turns the postcard into a warning. Some guides don't stop at the safe camp. They push their groups across that narrow ridge, closer and closer to the crater itself. And this is where the math gets dangerous. On the 7th of June, 2026, tourists on the Acatenango overnight hike filmed a major nighttime explosion from roughly 400 meters away. Close enough to be genuinely dangerous if the eruption had been more powerful. Think about what that distance actually means when the thing in front of you is launching rock and molten material into the air. There is no running from a lava bomb you can already feel landing near you. By the time you see it, the decision has already been made for you. Now zoom out, because the geography is the whole story. Fuego is a relatively young basaltic stratovolcano. Together with the andesitic Acatenango, it forms a double volcano. And the two volcanoes rise only 30 kilometers from Guatemala City, in the immediate vicinity of the town of Antigua. As a volcano of the Central American coastal cordillera, it owes its formation to the subduction of the Pacific Plate. That's the engine. The Pacific seafloor grinding down beneath the continent, melting, feeding magma upward, the same ring of fire that lights up half the planet. And Fuego sits on it almost permanently switched on. There's a word the guides will teach you up there, and most tourists have never heard it before that night: paroxysm. It's the difference between the show and the catastrophe. Between the paroxysms, the volcano is strombolian active. The closer the paroxysm, the more intense the strombolian activity. The paroxysms often last up to 2 days and promote large ash clouds and pyroclastic flows. Most nights, the explosions are the fireworks. But every so often, the rhythm shifts and the mountain stops performing and starts killing. The 2018 disaster started just like any other day of strombolian activity at Fuego. Conditions can escalate without warning. And that's the loop nobody on the trail wants to think about, because everybody up there knows what happened in 2018. That year, it was a Sunday morning. A strong explosion on the morning of 3 June 2018 began multiple explosions throughout the day that produced an ash plume observed in satellite data at 15.2 kilometers altitude. But the ash isn't what killed people. Numerous large pyroclastic flows, generated by the explosions, descended multiple ravines around the flanks. The most heavily damaged communities were San Miguel, Los Lotes, and El Rodeo, 10 kilometers southeast of the summit. A pyroclastic flow is the thing you cannot outrun. It's a superheated avalanche of gas, ash, and rock, traveling at estimated speeds above 100 kilometers per hour and temperatures exceeding 700 degrees Celsius, faster than a car on a highway, hotter than anything you've ever stood near, and silent until it's on top of you. Many of those killed were found in or near their homes, suggesting the fast-moving clouds were upon them before they had time to escape. Picture Hilda Lopez. She was at a party, celebrating the birth of a baby, when one of the neighbors shouted at them to come out and see the lava that was coming. They didn't believe it, and when they went out, the hot mud was already coming down the street. Her mother was stuck there, she couldn't get out. That's how fast. From a birthday celebration to a buried village in the time it takes to walk to your front door. And the worst part, the part that should haunt every tour group that crosses that ridge, is the warning that never came. The 2018 disaster started just like any other day of Strombolian activity. The villages were overrun, and only then did the disaster agency finally order mandatory evacuations. By now, several communities were already buried. Residents in El Rodeo said the trucks came through telling them to leave only after the lava had already arrived, and the cars didn't even stop to pick people up. The official number is brutal enough. The official death toll is 190 confirmed dead, with over 260 people still missing. But the people who live there will tell you that number is a fiction. Local residents and aid organizations estimate the actual toll could be far higher, possibly up to 2,000, because pyroclastic flows buried entire communities under meters of volcanic material, whole streets that were never dug out. Ashfall reached more than 25 kilometers away, and La Aurora Airport in Guatemala City was closed for 2 days. So when you watch those tourists hiking down by headlamp, you have to hold both things in your head at once. The eruption they're escaping is probably just the show. But the ground they're walking out of is the exact stage where it once stopped being a show. When approaching the ascent route, you have to pass through an area that was hit by pyroclastic flows during the catastrophic eruption of 2018. They are literally walking out across the graveyard, and the experts have been saying the quiet part out loud. In 2024, Matthew Watson, professor of volcanoes and climate at the University of Bristol, told BBC News that it was only a matter of time before someone gets killed due to an eruption on a Fuego volcano tour. Watson stopped taking students to Fuego in 2015, 3 years before its eruptions destroyed a nearby town. The monitoring agency itself has warned against operators dragging tourists toward the summit, with some groups getting within 100 meters of the crater. But the danger isn't only the heat, it's also the cold. In 2017, 6 people died of hypothermia when camping on a Catenango. A freezing night at altitude has killed more tourists on that mountain than the lava ever has. 2 extremes of the thermometer, and the trail runs straight between them. So why does anyone do it? Because for the guides, the gamble is the job. Many were born in the villages in the shadow of these 2 mountains, and leading tourists up the volcano pays many times what farm labor ever could. One veteran guide put it plainly when asked if the work was dangerous. Danger every day, he said. Rocks, storms, rivers of ash. He thinks about it every time he goes up, and then he goes up again, because the alternative is $20 a day. This is the part that's not making headlines. Every night that Fuego performs without killing anyone, the lesson the industry takes is that it's safe to go a little closer next time. The crowd grows, the ridge gets more crowded, the margin gets thinner, and the volcano keeps doing exactly what it has always done. These paroxysmal events, bursts of higher intensity activity within the continuous eruption, happen several times per month, and the current eruption phase is the longest in Fuego's recorded history. It is, right now, as you watch this, still erupting. The last confirmed eruption of Fuego began in 2002 and is continuing as of June 2026, 24 years and counting. A particularly large eruption on the 12th of June 2026 illuminated the volcano's slopes just before sunrise, visible across the Central Highlands. The ground around the crater is still warm. The next group is already booking their hike out of Antigua tonight. So the questions write themselves. How close is too close when the mountain decides without warning? How many more viral escape videos before one of them doesn't have a happy ending? And if Fuego shifts into a true paroxysm on a night when 300 tourists are strung out along that ridge in the dark, who exactly is going to get them down in 20 minutes? The lava is still fountaining. The hikers are still climbing. The guides are still being paid in danger money. And the ravines that swallowed San Miguel Los Lotes are still pointed, right now, in the same direction they always were.